Labor, Employment and Occupational Safety and Health at the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. Martin, please. I also request Linda Abeja, who is the CEO of Amaria Tech Foundation, an interesting young female entrepreneur. We had invited two of these because for us, for this panel, it was very, very important for us to have some young entrepreneurs. So we had invited two, crossing our fingers at least we have one of them. So we are happy that Linda will be representing the youth entrepreneurs in Uganda. Linda, please. By way of getting our panel full, I'm also going to request Rachel Mwagale, who is the Executive Director of Junior Achievement Uganda, an organization that organizes and trains youth entrepreneurs. She'll also tell us a little bit more about Junior Achievement Uganda. We're also expecting Professor Waswa Balunywa, the principal of MOBS, but I think he had a parliamentary summon this morning, and he asked to delegate his deputy, who we're expecting. We hope that he can still make it on time. But before we get into our panel, we have an opening ceremony, and among the online community, we have Winnie Carano, who is the lead Microsoft Philanthropies Sub-Saharan Africa, who is going to join us online. We also have Mr. Roberto Suarez Santos, who is the Secretary General of the International Organization of Employers in Geneva. We also have Douglas Opio, who is our Executive Director of the Federation of Ugandan Employers. But again, before we dive into the opening, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize the people who are here present, and we have quite a number. But in interest of time, I'll just ask Amado Sako, our colleague from IOE in Geneva. We came all the way from Switzerland to be with us here. Amado, please wave. And I'd also like to recognize Japheth. Japheth is the CEO of the Innovation Village. Japheth, please wave to the physical participants. Yeah, Japheth is doing a great job inspiring, coaching, motivating, and training our young entrepreneurs in Uganda. Japheth, you're welcome. I'd also like to, at this juncture, request one of our panelists. I beg your pardon. This one is from Enable. I'm sorry I mixed up the name, but I beg your pardon. I'm going to get your name right. Please take your seat at the panel. As we get started, we have our Secretary General of IOE, Mr. Roberto Suarez, has a number of colliding engagements, so we're going to give an opportunity to him to speak to us before we get into the panel. How do we do this? Technology? Okay. Oh, very good. Oh, Mr. Suarez, you're welcome. You have the floor.
Me? Can you hear me? You just tell me you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go right ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for waiting for me. And also, well, first of all, I want to thank the distinguished representative of the Ugandan government. I know that there is a Minister of Science and Technology and Innovation who will be joining, if I'm not wrong, but also the distinguished representative of the Ministry of Labor. Also, our partners, the dear representatives of Microsoft, and also the representatives of the Federation of Uganda Employers, which represent the private sector. I know that there are also some participants of the academic world that we also want to thank, but more especially to all of you participants and all those who are participating in the Tech Work program in Uganda. It's very unfortunate that I cannot be able to be with you there. Essentially, I'm a firm believer of face-to-face meetings. We are happy to have Amadou Sakho with you. He's our focal point for many African initiatives, but he's also the project officer for Africa in this project, which is critical for the employers community. It's also a very important partnership with Microsoft that we want also to strengthen. I don't know whether you're familiar with the IOE. I mean, the International Organization of Employers was created already more than 100 years ago. To be more specific, 103 years ago. And our core values are very much linked to the social impact of companies. And the best social contribution of companies, the best contribution of companies to society, the best contribution of companies to the SDGs has to do with employment, has to do with the skills, has to do also with the innovation. And that goes hand in hand with entrepreneurship. That goes hand in hand also with the skills and education and upskilling individuals. That leads also to sustainable development, that leads to prosperity, and I would say also that leads also to stability at societal level, but also political level. So for us, having a project like this is a kind of driver also to go in the right direction. It is essential for employers, it is essential for business that we are able to recruit those with the talent, but also that we are able also to upskill the individuals that are under our staff so that they can also improve the productivity. For us, a balanced combination of skills contributes not just to productivity of the company, but the productivity of the economy as a whole. And that also leads to a more sustainable future and to the competitiveness of company as a whole. Employability and lifelong learning opportunities are two important elements that an increasing number of companies are looking for. Being employable, being skilled, having the right skills makes a difference right now to get into the labor market or not. Being inside the labor market means more than ever being skilled. And in particular in Africa, this is especially relevant because we keep saying, we keep informing, we keep engaging with African employers because we know there is the future. Moreover, the spirit of entrepreneurship is also linked to this new skilling effort because those countries that really preserve entrepreneurship, those countries that treat well a woman or a man that set up their business, are the ones that will strengthen innovation, are the ones that promote creativity, are the ones that will be successfully preserving social cohesion at the end of the day. So this entrepreneurship will allow existing business, but future business, to constantly strive for improvement. It will also allow aspiring entrepreneurs to meet different kinds of needs in their environment. It's only natural that the IOE has partnered with Microsoft for the innovative, ambitious Tech Work training program. Again, our vision is to create a sustainable environment, not just for business, but also for society. And efficient partnerships like the one that we are looking forward here can make a difference. I don't want to take much more time. I just want also to tell you that we are more than willing to materialize this vision by contributing to strengthening the skills development through this program. This is going to be in Uganda as a key player, as one of the countries that deserve also more attention in order to strengthen the youth capacities on tech skills. In conclusion, I would like also to particularly again thank the Federation of Uganda Employer, very active and very committed to the IOE, for your partnerships, but also to Microsoft. We also want to thank and encourage the CIVNAP Center, which is efficiently implemented this training program. Again, we are looking forward also to engage further. We have in this project two important persons, Anita Awuko, also who is the head of projects in IOE, and Amadou Sako. Please do not hesitate to address us for any further involvement or a doubt that you would make. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Roberto. We appreciate those wise and important words as we get started. I would now like to invite the representative of Microsoft, and this is Winnie Carano, who is the lead, Microsoft Philanthropies Sub-Sahara Africa. Winnie, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Distinguished participants, panelists, and I'd also like to acknowledge my my colleagues who are on the call as well, Kate Barnes and Ashi, who have been instrumental in putting this partnership together. Our distinguished guests, IOE Secretary General, Mr. Roberto Suarez Santos, and Douglas Opio, Executive Director, Federation of Uganda Employers. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in the launch of the Tech at Work in Uganda, albeit remotely. I would have loved to be there with you, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to interact with you more closely in the future. I'm honored to represent Microsoft in our collaboration efforts with IOE, Federation of Uganda Employers, and our partner Synapse, who makes our partnership real. Microsoft's mission is to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. One way we bring this mission to life is by ensuring we reach those who are typically unreached or excluded by the benefits and the opportunities of technology, and help them gain the skills, education, and needed for livelihoods in the digital economy. This is even more pertinent in Africa. We are at the forefront of a digital revolution across the continent. They say 230 million jobs in sub-Saharan Africa are expected to require digital skills by 2030. Digitization is taking place at a phenomenal pace and accelerating innovation and driving demand for thousands of newly technology created jobs are in need. Africa, with a growing young population, almost 12 million people are added to the labor force each year, is ideally placed to hold to take hold of the incredible prospects presented by this rapid transformation. But we must deliver the digital skills needed to seize the opportunity before us. Over the past 2 years, we've already trained 1.5 million youth in Africa, and we're hoping to do more in the coming years. Our approach to skilling and education has always been to partner with nonprofits, other private sector partners, and government, because we know this is a problem that no sector can solve alone. I've had it to be said that while the private sector can innovate and go fast, nonprofits can go deep and governments can go wide. Only together can we have a true, responsive, and transformation at scale. Our partnership with IOE, Synapse, and the Federation of Uganda Employers aims to train 5,000 youth, women, and entrepreneurs with digital entrepreneurship and employability skills in Uganda, and aim to have at least 50,000 women participate. We already have launched in Senegal back in October, where the program Tech at Work aims to train 20,000 young people across 4 countries in Africa. The program will shortly move into DRC and then into Lesotho. It seeks to enhance livelihood enablement, and income generating activities, and we are proud to launch Tech at Work today in Uganda. I am truly honored and proud to launch Tech at Work today in Uganda. The challenges of bridging the digital divide are many, but I'm certain that we're equal to the challenge. Through our partnerships, we will succeed in developing social capital, nurturing new understanding, stimulating innovation, and sharing knowledge and entrepreneurship on the continent. I'm really looking forward to working with you, getting to know you, getting to see the kind of impact that we have in Uganda. I think Uganda has been a hub of innovation. I think Imagine Cup has been one of kind of many programs that we drive in terms of enabling innovation among young people. And Uganda has taken the win for Africa many times. And so we're really looking forward to see how we can engage with you, work with you, and stimulate the ecosystem even more. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Winnie. We appreciate those very, very powerful words. Indeed, Africa, the continent of the future. We hope that our own youth in Uganda can benefit from the Microsoft vision of empowering every young person. We hope that we shall see you in Kampala soon. We don't want you to only enjoy Dakar. You should also come to this part of Africa, and hope we can see you sooner than later. I would now like to invite our own Douglas Opio, our Executive Director at the Federation of Uganda Employers. He normally has very kind words, especially when the director is in the house. So, Douglas, please.
Thank you so much, Shafi. Shafi is talking like this because I'm actually a part-time comedian. I don't do it for cash, only to make people happy. So I'm quite delighted to be speaking to you this afternoon. My special appreciation to Roberto Suarez, the Secretary General of IOE. Special appreciation as well to Winnie Carano. I hear you very clearly. And of course, we'll be joined later by our minister responsible for science and technology, but also our online minister responsible for gender, labor, and social development. Now, what we are doing today is quite significant in many ways. First of all, we are all aware that we are having a shift from employment to work. And that shift is largely being driven by digital skills. Increasingly, people are self-employed. Increasingly, we are talking about side hustles. Increasingly, we are talking about even professions that didn't exist a few years ago. If you called yourself a social media expert a few years ago, people would wonder, is that work? Only to be on Facebook and chat with your friends? What is there? So a lot has changed, and technology is playing an important role in this. Secondly, for a country like Uganda, we are lagging behind as far as digital skills is concerned. Just a few years ago, in 2021, we did the National Labor Force Survey. And one of the findings of that survey was very disturbing for me. 87.9% of our population who are aged 10 years and above have never accessed the internet. But we are speaking about the digital age. But the very basic one, which is access, is not possible for quite a number of us. Secondly, which I also want to highlight as well, violence increasing, not only in homes, but also at work. Violence at a level of 42%. What does that mean? Frustration. And frustration among the young people, but also adults, is often linked to lack of opportunities, linked to our inability to get what we want. This underscores the importance of skills. And I'm happy that on this panel, we have quite a number of people who have been doing amazing things already in the skills space. Enable has been supporting the national skills reform in Uganda for a long time. Director Martin is here with us, but he's spearheading actually a process geared towards creating the national employment strategy. And I know technology, digital skills will be an important part of us achieving that. We also have young entrepreneurs. Linda is here with us. They are working in a space that I'm describing, where access is limited. Opportunities are not as much for many young people. And therefore, their ability to succeed and to thrive is affected. Junior Achievement Uganda, doing an excellent work, not only waiting for people to turn 18, but actually trying to see if they can shape their entrepreneurial skills earlier on in their lives. So we have very young people, teenagers creating companies in primary schools. A lot of entrepreneurship support work going on. My last point, because our time is short, I just want to encourage each one of us present here, whether physically or online, to be ambassadors for this Tech at Work program. We have an ambitious target to reach 5,000 young people. But given where we stand, even the 5,000 is a small number. But at least if we start with the 5,000, we have an entry point. We have a place to start to create more opportunities for young people. We don't just want it to end at the point of the training. We want it to move further so that the young people who are trained are able to establish businesses. Those who are getting trained to get digital skills for employability are actually able to get work. So we are seeing this as not as an end in itself, but as a bridge, as a means to a better livelihood for young people. And on that note, I would like to end there and to thank all of us. We have also been joined by Cyber School. They're supporting us also in this digital space. How can we improve the application of technology also in the workplace? So hopefully all of you working together with us, Innovation Village and others, we can be able to create more opportunities and support the young people better. So thank you so much. Have a good afternoon. I'm trying to keep formal, so no jokes. Also showing that I'm a serious man.
Thank you so much, Douglas, for those vibrant words. I'll not waste any more time, but just do two things and then we get right into our panel. I would like to apologize earlier, Mr. Bart Cornell from Enable, and he's the international expert on digitalization. He's one of our panelists here. Now, this is the launch of this training in Uganda. And like Douglas said, we are expecting the ministers later. So when the minister or the ministers arrive, we shall perform that ceremony to officially launch this program in Uganda. But now we are getting into the gist of the subject matter. And I would now like to hand over to Amado, who is going to be the panelist, the moderator for this panel discussion. Amado, if you could please take up your space at the panel and take it right on.
Thank you very much, Shafi. You're putting a lot of pressure on me. You want me to be at the same time the moderator and a panelist. That's very complicated. So, good afternoon, everyone. With all protocol observed, I would like to thank you again in the name of the IOE and all its partners for taking the time, for having taken the time, for being here today for this launch event. My name is Amadou Sako, so I'm the advisor for Africa at the International Organization of Employers and the project officer for the Tech at Work program. So I have the honor and the pleasure to be serving as moderator for this panel today. So as we have heard in the opening speeches, youth employment, the challenge of youth employment is a significant challenge in many African countries, including in Uganda. And it's a challenge that cannot be tackled by one single actor, by one single stakeholder. So there is a need for a collaborative approach from all the segments of our societies, the private sector, the civil society, the government, and the international organization. Therefore, for this panel today, we have convened distinguished speaker to exchange on the topic of youth employment, youth entrepreneurship, and digital here in Uganda, and to have more insight on these different topics. So I will not introduce the different panelists, as Shafi already did it in an excellent manner. So we will start with Mr. Martin Wandera. Good afternoon, Mr. Mandera. Thank you very much for being here with us today. So you are the Director of Labor Employment and OSH at the Ministry of Labor. And it's really a pleasure for me to see you again here in Kampala. We had the pleasure to meet you a few months ago in Zanzibar, if I'm not mistaken, on labor migration related issues, which is a topic also that the IOE works a lot on. As you might know it, employers are the main user of migrant labor. But that's not the topic today. Let's talk about youth employment and youth entrepreneurship. So, Mr. Wandera, I have a question for you. What is your government policy regarding youth and women entrepreneurship here in Uganda, and what action are you carrying out on the field? Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator. Good afternoon to you all. As you know, for many people, labor is their main source of a livelihood. Having a job or not determines whether you'll have food on your plate or not. The government of Uganda, therefore, values the issue of employment and consequently did develop the National Employment Policy, whose goal is to create decent employment opportunities and improve labor productivity for socio-economic transformation. The government also recognizes that the majority of the labor force is comprised of young people, and in the National Employment Policy, there is a specific policy action point, that is 7.10, on youth employment. And this policy action area articulates a number of interventions guiding current Uganda action on employment. And one of these is skilling, because if you are to do a job, you require certain competences. And the most critical competence in skilling is numeracy and literacy. Anyone who is able to write and read has been equipped with a skill of learning how to learn. And that's why the government of Uganda is implementing the universal primary education program, the university secondary education program, the number of vocational training institutes that have been established to equip young people with the skills, employable skills in different fields that I will not mention. But also, government recognizes that a number of young people, for one reason or the other, drops out of school. And the government has accordingly revitalized the apprenticeship program. This is a form of work-based learning, different from what many of you know. It's not internship, because for internship, usually, the learning outcomes are not very clear. But for apprenticeship, an employee, an apprentice enters a contract to work for purposes of learning, and what they are going to learn is clearly stipulated, and the competences they should have at the end are also stipulated. The government is also promoting a number of entrepreneurship and business skills development programs in varied fields under a number of flagship programs. One of them is the Presidential Initiative on Skilling of Youth and Women, where 14,448 young people and women have so far been trained in different skills and also been given startup toolkits. Another program which is supporting youth entrepreneurship is the Youth Livelihood Program, where 169.4 billion has been invested, with 251,679 youth benefiting. There is another program run by my ministry. Thanks to technology, I will have to interrupt my presentation just to show you that I'm tech-savvy. We have another program, the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program. This gives business skills development to women, but also they are given credit, which is interest-free. And so far the government has spent 116 billion, benefiting 879,000 beneficiaries out of the country. Another intervention that we carry out at the ministry is career guidance. We have a division in the Department of Employment Services which provides young people with career guidance, job search skills, assisting them with the skills on how to prepare CVs, because we realize many young people have employable skills, but they can't market themselves. They can't write a good application letter. They can't prepare a good CV, because the only way you present yourself to an employer is through a CV. So if the CV is not very good, then they will not know how tech-savvy you are, however good you are. So we do that. We also carry out job placement through a graduate volunteer scheme. We also, under the apprenticeship scheme, place young people at workplaces, as I said, to acquire skills. Now, with regard to technology, especially ICT, the access to internet is critical. And what government has done is to make access to the internet possible at every corner of Uganda, whether at Busia, Katuna, out or Raba in West Nile. The challenges are ability of people to get the tools to access the internet. Rome was not built in one day. The government has at least solved that. And as people's incomes improve, use of internet will also improve. But before I conclude, one thing which the government has done, which many a time we take for granted, is creating an enabling environment for business. We have a fairly deregulated system for starting a business. If you have an idea, you need no permission from anyone to grow it. We have a functional financial and banking system. The issue of the high cost of credit is another matter, but the banks are there. And last but not least, the issue of security. Many of you watching cable news know what is happening in Khartoum. People are exiting, and no investment can go to that country. So we must therefore appreciate the fact that our country is peaceful. We can have disagreements, but that is something that at least all of us should agree is present and should be jealously protected. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wandara, for highlighting the different action that the Ugandan government is carrying out in the field, but also for giving us a good picture of what the government is doing to facilitate access to internet. Before going to the next panelist, I would like to mention that today, this event will not be limited to the intervention of the panelists. Right after the intervention of the panelists, we will have a Q&A session, and it will be for you, the audience, an opportunity to comment and to ask questions. I know that we have today with us in the audience many leaders of many organizations of the civil society and the private sector, including Konrad Adenauer-Stiftung, the CAS, which is represented today by Mr. Nicolas Opotat. Please, I will ask you please to upload for Mr. Nicolas. CAS is a valued partner of the IOE at the global level, and now in Uganda to promote the Tech and to implement also the Tech at Work program. So we will continue with our next speaker from the private sector civil society, Mrs. Rachel Mwangale. So Mrs. Mwangale is the Executive Director of Junior Achievement Uganda. Mrs. Mwangale, I have two questions for you today. Good afternoon. So first of all, could you please briefly tell us what is Junior Achievement Uganda? And I have another question for you, is that new technologies have a profound influence on the world of work. So what are the trends in Uganda in this field, and what do you foresee for the future here in Uganda? The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Rachel Mwangale, the Executive Director at Junior Achievement Uganda. Junior Achievement Uganda is an NGO that supports young people in the areas of financial literacy, work readiness, and entrepreneurship skills. And we do this in schools and in communities that are organized. We have been around since the year 2008. And of course, in the world, we are a century old. We started in America in 1919. So we have Junior Achievement America, Junior Achievement South America, Asia, Europe, Africa. And in Africa, we've been around over 30 years, supporting young people in the area of the three main areas. A lot has happened and a lot has changed on how we do our day-to-day activities with the young people. However, in our theory of change, we believe that self-efficacy is the main issue when it comes to young people and how their output will be into the world. It sort of it stipulates that an individual's belief in his or her ability to successfully perform a task or achieve an outcome that belief is what will drive what they do. So for us, it's what's better to teach young people than, for instance, in this area, tech. If you want them to be tech savvy, why don't you get them into doing tech and doing tech for tech? I always I allude this usually in our trainings to taking a shower. None of us can be able to take a shower unless they take a shower. Is that correct? So who is better to teach business than business? Now, coming back to the question you asked, new technologies have had a profound influence on the world of work, the trends in Uganda. I'll maybe speak on a trend coming from the area where I am as young people. A lot of artificial intelligence, is growing and is big, and it has not left Ugandans on the side. They've also taken on to it. A couple of young people have come up with a number of tech savvy apps, and many, even when we hold our own trainings that we always do. We right now have a social equity project, but many young people, when you're asking them to come up with to come up with ideas, they are going to talk about ideas in that area. So I know around the world there's a lot going on, like when you are discussing today about ChatGPT, and everyone is concerned at what point is it going to affect young people's knowledge and learning. However, it has not yet caught a lot of fire in Uganda. We will be honest with ourselves. Our young people are just now learning to take on to the new trends in education, and but it is catching fire. On our side, as Junior Achievement, we have turned our entrepreneurship program into a digital one. We have what we call the Junior Achievement Digital Entrepreneurship Program, so JADEEP in short. So they have about 8 modules that they do online, but it's also self-paced to allow them to do. Like I told you, for us, we say, do it yourself, hands-on. So even this program allows them to be doing by themselves, but digitally. Because like anybody else, everybody has to kind of have that shift. And it's important to also notice that even in schools now, it's no longer a case of an elective to do a computer class. It's kind of a must now. And now, like also all science subjects, if you look, all science subjects from S1 to S4, all the way are compulsory, and they're their first 8. When a child is said they performed so well, it's based off of the best 2 sciences, and of course maths. And so it's taking shape in Uganda little by little, and programs like this, and I would like to thank you, all the sponsors and the participants today, because everybody is here in their right as a participant in this area of supporting young people to take on the new trends of the world. So programs like these, if given to the young people in the right time, as in when they're still in school, it ignites. I would like to brag that on my right, Linda Beja is a product, an alumnus of a Junior Achievement Program. So, but what I hear young people say is that switch that we always, that ability to be able to know, to get the knowledge, switches on something that can be used later. Because as they navigate life and map up what they want, there's so much chance that they'll come around and come back to where they maybe experience tech at work in a program, and maybe even for some of them, because Linda is a CEO employed self-employed, and we have many of them like that doing some of the things, yes, that they have done in school. So it's taking shape. not visibly, not loudly visible, but for those who are offering programs like when we start the Tech at Work, we will see that a lot of young people have a lot of ideas that we can never know unless, of course, we have that interaction with them. We have that first move into that area from within their community or within their schools. So it's work in progress, I would say. I don't know if I've answered you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Magale. You've answered my question. We understand that Uganda is not an exception, and that technology is more and more present, and that there is really a need from school to the world of work to equip young people with the necessary skills. So before going to Linda or young entrepreneur, I will give the floor to Mr. Bart Corneel, so our expert in digitalization from Enabel, the Belgian Belgian Development Agency. I'm really pleased to see that Enabel is here today with us in Uganda. In a past life, I was based in Guinea-Conakry in West Africa, so at the opposite. And there I was already working with Enabel on youth-related project, so in West Africa. So it's good to see that in East Africa also they're present. So good afternoon, Mr. Corneel. I have a question for you. I have two questions, in fact. Could you please tell us, so what challenge do Ugandan youth face in terms of entrepreneurship, and what do you recommend to address to this challenge, and what is your organization, Enabel, doing here in Uganda, in this area, to address this different challenge? The floor is yours.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm going to interrupt you. We have an announcement, please, Shafi.
Please let's rise up and welcome the Honorable Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Honorable Dr. Monica Musenero. Honorable Minister, we are in the middle of a panel, but I wanted to recognize your arrival. So with your permission, I'll take guidance from the Director, Labor, Employment and OISH in terms of how I'll move forward. But for now, we'll request that we continue the panel discussion, and then thank you so much, Honorable Minister. We are grateful, Honorable Minister. Amadou, please.
Dear Honorable Minister, thank you again for being here with us today. So we will continue with our next panelist, Mr. Bart Corneel from Enabel. He's an international expert in digitalization. So I was asking you, what are the challenges? What challenges the Ugandan youth face in terms of entrepreneurship, and what is Enabel doing in this area? The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. In the introduction, the gentleman provoked me by saying Uganda is lagging behind. Of course, I understand what you're saying, but there are huge opportunities. The moderator also said that Uganda or Africa is the continent of the future, and this is my intake after 4 years being in Uganda. There's so many opportunities. I'm coming from Belgium and Europe. We don't have mobile money, for example. So you take this for granted, this mobile economy that is here. We cannot send mobile money via our mobile phone. So maybe we are also lagging behind. So please change the narrative, I would say, and see the opportunities. Yes, there are challenges. I totally agree. You mentioned a lot of them, so I'm not going to repeat that. But you have an interesting, thriving ecosystem in Kampala and in Uganda. And I think even in Europe, we are at a similar level in terms of digital innovation hubs, for example. And as Enabel, we work in national teacher training colleges and vocational training institutes. And what we did, for example, we took them on a safari, a digital safari. When you go on a safari, you look for the big five, the elephant and so on. So we visited with our principals, ICT officers, and national teacher training colleges and vocational training institutes. We visited Design Hub, Hi, Jean. We went to Innovation Village. I don't know where CK is. We went to Outbox at MIC, at the Makerere University. And last but not least, we went to Motif. And for our administrators, the principals, that was really an eye-opener. You know, Motif, if you talk about vocational training, Motif is the ultimate vocational training institute, how it should be. So as Enable, what we did, we wanted to get the vibe going and get those entrepreneurial, those innovation skills from all these hubs and infuse that into the vocational training, trying to infuse that into the vocational training institutes. So we established, we are working in 7 vocational training institutes. We established small digital innovation hubs in those institutions. And because you asked me what the problem is, there is a kind of what they learn in those institutions and what the industry needs, there's a mismatch. We need much more 21st century skills, not only digital skills, but also soft skills, creativity, innovation, collaboration. And a hub is an ideal place to do that. So we are trying to, next to the curricula in those institutions, we are trying to make a space for creativity, for innovation, for digital skills. And I think this is what has been lagging because Uganda, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, in 2015 you were the #1 entrepreneurial country in the world. So it's not that there's no entrepreneurial skills here, but it is also data shows that after some months, maybe 9 months, businesses fail. So I think we need the skills, digital entrepreneurial skills, skills for digital transformation, but we also need, I think, better or more qualitative business support services. There are many organizations offering all these services, but apparently businesses still fail. So I think we need more collaboration amongst each other because many organizations work in silos, including my organization. But if we join forces and connect to the ecosystem and, you know, to upgrade those business support services, I think we can really leapfrog. And last week, I think the Minister of the PS of ICT and National Guidance launched the roadmap for digital transformation. And there are 5 pillars. And one of the pillars is innovation and entrepreneurship. And another pillar is digital skilling. So I think all ministries are really focusing on digital skilling, innovation and entrepreneurship. And we as development organizations or partners, we should all collaborate to really try to get things moving. But I'm still very positive that in no time you will not be lagging behind again. You will be ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cornell. We can see that Enable really tries to have a comprehensive approach by working with the different stakeholders of the ecosystem here in Uganda, as you do in other countries. I didn't know that Uganda was the first country in the world in terms of entrepreneurship.
In 2015, is there
Okay. Congratulations. I didn't know that. So I might move here very soon. I might move here very soon. 400,000 business. Congratulations. A round of applause for this country. In fact, I was making a joke saying that I might move here soon, but you know, you can be an entrepreneur in your workplace, in fact. And the Tech at Work program, that's why, for those who don't know much about the program quickly, that's why we've developed, in fact, 2 curricula. So the first one is entrepreneurship, really, to foster the entrepreneurship mindset for those who wants to create a company, but also the other curriculum is the entrepreneur curriculum. So to foster the employability, the entrepreneurship spirit also, but of those who wants to have an employment and evolve within a company, even if they're not the one who have created this company. And quickly, the Tech at Work program, again, it's a 9-day, it's a very practical program that was designed by Microsoft, who is the donor, Synapse, who is the implementation agency. Synapse Center is based in Dakar, and the International Organization of Employer, who does the coordination at the regional level in Africa. And in each country, we implement it with our member. In Uganda, here is the Federation of Ugandan Employers. We also have 3 other projects in Senegal, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Lesotho that will start in a few months. So as I was saying, it's a 9-day program, very practical program that aims at upskilling young people from 16 to 35 on basic digital skills, but also on soft skills. So the first week of the training program is on basic digital skills, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, Outlook, etc. And the second week, depending on the chosen curriculum, it's on the soft skills such as creative thinking, market analysis, team working. So let's go to the last but not the least, to our next speaker, Mrs. Linda Abejo, CEO of Amariatech Foundation. Good afternoon, Mrs. Linda. I cannot see you. Let me move a bit. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sako.
Thank you very much for being with us today. And so I have a question for you. What is the day-to-day of a young entrepreneur here in Uganda? I have more than a question. What is the day-to-day of a young entrepreneur in Uganda? Would you have an appeal to make today to actors of the private sector, to the public authorities also? So the floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much, Sako. So the day-to-day in the life of an entrepreneur, a young entrepreneur, it's challenging, it's scary, it's confusing, it's full of stress, and also it's full of giving up for very many other young entrepreneurs. And on the other side, it's also exciting, full of learning, and also it's full of persistence. So that's the actual truth about the life of a young entrepreneur, because when you start out with your idea, you're very excited. You have probably saved up your money. And along the way, you run out of money. You know, but then you still have to keep going. You still have to keep running. And also you still have to probably pay the people that you are working with. But then as you keep running, some point you don't have money, everyone will walk out of you and you remain alone. So, but in remaining alone, you know, I was at an event early in the morning and they said CEO means Chief Everything Officer. You have to do everything by yourself. And that's when you have to start to learn financial management. You have to learn digital management. You have to learn accounting and finance. You have to learn each and everything. So you're actually everything in one. So the life of an entrepreneur in Uganda is not really easy because throughout our education system, especially for us, the millennials, we were prepared to be employees. We were not really prepared to be employers. So when you start a business, you actually have no idea about how to run a business. You don't know much about creativity, etc. So everything you're just trying to figure out on your own. And also, you cannot juggle employment at the same time with your idea or your business, because at the end of the day, you have to quit one and continue with another. And that's all the vicious circle. But also it's challenging because your friends think you have money, the little money you have to put it back in the business, but they're all calling, saying some money. Oh my God, it becomes so complicated to the point that you just have to block certain calls. So it's not easy, but then also it's full of education because you have to force yourself to really learn everything that at some point you told yourself, you know what, I don't want to even learn this. So it's really challenging to be a young entrepreneur in Uganda. And for those of you who are entrepreneurs, I think you really understand what I'm talking about. Maybe for the Gen Z, it will be much easier for them because of a lot of changes that are taking place in the education system. But for others that were prepared for employment, it's really, really difficult for them. Now, going ahead to the second question that I was asked, what recommendations do I have for actors of the sector and then for the public authorities? I actually do have a lot of recommendations based on my own experiences and those of my friends, because I belong to quite a number of coalitions with young entrepreneurs, number one, but also the social equity project that we are doing with JA Uganda, seeing the challenges that young entrepreneurs undergo. These are really practical and real recommendations based on their challenges. And it may not be the very best for everyone, but I'm going to just share. So the first one, we need to really, we are talking about tech at work, but we really need to tackle the issue of affordability of the internet. As we talk about tech, is it even accessible for the young person, the internet? You get, because I was reading somewhere last year where they said Uganda has the most expensive internet. Now, for other countries, internet is really affordable. For example, I was chatting with some, sometimes because we run ads and then we have to get people to pay. And some countries, it's easy for that people to be online all the time and learn and study and take advantage of free courses, new technologies like artificial intelligence. They take advantage of them and at their fingertips. But being in a country where internet is very expensive, it gets to be very challenging. And these people, I don't remember the country, I think it was Somalia, and the guy told me they get 20 GB at only $5 per month. And I'm like, okay, what about the average Ugandan? So internet, first of all, for the average Ugandan is very expensive. Now, if you're a young person, you're running a business, the only advantage you have over a big business is internet. Is the ability to use the internet and the features that come with the internet. But if affordability itself is also very high, it gets very hard for you to compete and be able to grow at a faster pace. However, your counterparts in other countries have, environments that favor them. So they'll progress ahead of you very fast. And remember, we're in a global economy. If you're slow, another country will take advantage of the opportunity, and then they make the money, leaving you behind. And then also, maybe we have to rethink some of the policies that are in place. For example, those are on Facebook. When I started my company a few years ago, I really took advantage of Facebook. I always say that technology kind of tries to create an equal space for us, because on Facebook, I can run an ad of $1 per day, right? And then based on how I create that ad, I can reach a very big number of people. But I'm a small company, so it kind of like gives me a budget to work around, but then also still be in position to compete. But then now when you come and then you close Facebook, it becomes very difficult, for example, even to target your audience. Like when you're trying to run the ad, you're trying to target your audience, targeting the audience becomes very difficult. And then I received a message from Meta last year telling me I now need to be paying my government taxes and certain things. And so doing business becomes very difficult, but then in other countries, it's much easier for them because at the end of the day, they still sell to Ugandans. So in one way or another, you're crippling a Ugandan business, but then other countries are still benefiting from the citizens online. And then also recently, I saw that they're going to be charging hosting fees for the websites, especially for a young, they're not? Yes. So I read that for hosting a website. And I think for a young entrepreneur or someone who is really trying out, that could really be something that will block their chances to try to, because even just to pay that hosting fee, some people really hustle to get that money to just pay for the hosting fee. So if you're really challenging them, making it very difficult for them to even just put up a website to create some online visibility, you make it very difficult for them. The other one is simplifying the business registration processes, because a young person wants to do business the right way. They want to register the business. However, the processes of registering the business, trying to pay people different money to create for them these memats, And you know, at the beginning, the business idea is a bit shaky. It's not very, very clear. You know, in the first years, 1 to 3 years. But at the same time, you want to register it because you don't want to lose your name, your business name, because you can create your business, but then after some time, if it's not registered, the name might be gone. But I think in the registration process, we need to consider different tiers of companies because not every company is on the same level. And then the registration process has to be a bit very simple, especially for a certain level of startup and maybe for a certain age, so that registration becomes so easy, but then they also get the thing. Because young people, they don't know so much about these articles of association, all those things. So they may gamble, and then they may make a lot of mistakes because you're going to hire someone to do that for you. It's almost 500,000 minimum because you have to get a lawyer, etc. And yet we can make it very, very affordable and cheaper for them. And then also, I think also as a government, other countries really prosper because they have something like the venture capitalists. In Uganda, we really don't have the venture capitalists. And then we also know that accessing funding is really, really difficult. So being in position for the government to put up a fund like venture capitalism, but with an ecosystem around it on how it can be accessed, because earlier on, Mr. Wandera told us about some of the programs that the government already has in place for the young people. However, I don't know the ecosystems around that in making sure that this money is easy to access for a young person, but then also ensuring that the money is effectively used. That's also another challenge because I've seen programs where they are run and then a young person is given close to $40,000. If you track the person after some years, there is nothing. So what kind of ecosystem are you creating around giving the money? How are you working with the private sector to ensure that this happens? So I still have a lot to say, but I think I'll end there.
Thank you very much. I know you have a lot to say. Thank you very much. And congratulations. I know you have a lot to say. What can I say? The only thing, honestly, that I can say is that I can so relate to you. I fully understand you. As just 3 years ago, myself, I was an entrepreneur, running a small SME. Running a successful SME, it's extremely complicated in the African context. Access to finance, as you've said, having to run your daily operation where you have most of the time where you have to upskill to reskill the people you work with, fiscal burdens. So running a SME is extremely complicated. And one thing that I have to say is that I wished 3 years ago that I had a program such as Tech at Work to offer to those I was working with while I was in Guinea. In fact, you know, in Africa, SMEs represent more than 90% of all businesses. And SMEs are the ones who have the most difficulties accessing to skills. SMEs need, if we want to strengthen the business ecosystem in Africa, including here in Uganda, we need to offer practical solutions to SMEs, practical solutions such as Tech at Work. So thank you very much again for your presentation, for your intervention. Before we go to the Q&A session, I would like to give the floor to two persons to comment on what has been said, but also to give their insight on youth employability, youth entrepreneurship here in Uganda, and to tell us more about our work. So we have with us Mr. Joseph, the CEO of the Innovation Village. Mr. Joseph? Where is he? He stepped out? And we have also with us, as I said in the beginning, we have Mr. Nicholas from Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. Nicholas, would you please share with us what CAS is doing to support the startup ecosystem here in Uganda? If you could give him the mic, please.
Thank you. My name once again is Nicholas Opolot. I'm a program manager with the Konrad Adenauer Foundation office. My work orbits between Uganda and South Sudan, and I'm the focal point for innovation and civil society. So under the pillar of innovation, the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, which has its footprint in about 78 countries in the world, with 100 programs in all of these countries. So we work closely and together with different stakeholders in the space to shape the fortunes of innovation. So in Uganda, what we're actively doing is we're working with government, private sector, academia, and innovators to shape the innovation policy. So some of the challenges that you've heard the speakers mention here, we are alive to these realities. We live in this country, and we see the challenges that entrepreneurs face. So we're trying to actively work to make sure that very specific interventions in terms of policy are realized. And at the moment, you know that there's a gap in the way they categorize startups. So a lot of the challenges they face, they're unique and very specific. So you want to be able to support them in the best way that you can. So making sure that you articulate the ideas around regulation and how the startups can conduct their business is very important to improve their competitiveness and to also improve employability in this sector. So that's just one component, which is policy, and the other component is dialogue. You have to keep the conversations going and the thread going. So one of the things we do is from time to time, we work with different partners to make sure that we have the dialogue so we can be able to, one, examine some of the opportunities, some of the possibilities, and also discuss the challenges that the innovation sector faces. So annually, we've joined forces with different partners such as Enable, Startup Uganda, UNCDF to host the annual Uganda Innovation Week, which previously used to be Kampala Innovation Week. So the whole idea is to get a gathering strong of about 1,000 innovators and different people such as funders, academia, to come together annually, one, to showcase the innovative ideas, to engage with each other and connect so you can be able to create synergies among each other. And the other component that we do as a foundation is that we create linkages in the innovation sector between Europe and Africa. So in specific, we are working with the innovators here in Uganda to create a connection to emerging markets in Berlin. So they are able to meet different actors. These are politicians, these are investors, these are innovators such as themselves who are working in other spaces. So they are able to share the knowledge, experiences, and what's working here and what's working across the board to ensure the success of the innovation sector here. That's all I had to share.
Thank you very much,
give
Nicholas.
you back, Amadou.
Is Joseph back? He's not back? Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So the floor is open now. The floor is yours for your comment, for your questions. Please feel free. So we have a lady on my left here. Please, if you could please introduce yourself first.
Hello, my name is Jean Maki. I am the Managing Director of Secular Design Hub. We used to be Design Hub Kampala. I'm also the Vice President of Startup Uganda. It's an association that works again with CAS, Enable, to put together, players in the ecosystem. I'm really excited to hear such conversations. And I thought I'll start by flattering you before I say my pain points. And then all the good things kind of disappeared. When I hear, again, skilling is a big need. And I think digitalization of Uganda, we've talked about this story for a while. I like what Bart said. There's so much happening in this country that's great in the innovation space. I'm just one of 26 hub innovation spaces doing something intentional with innovators, and that's something. When you talk about skilling, I'm really keen to hear the government's role in standardizing that. What does that really mean? The IT space is saturated. With any corner of this city, there's some kind of training in the IT space. Fast forward, as an entrepreneur, I'm still struggling with the quality of staff members to work in my own space or to even work in startups. And that continues to grow. And it also speaks to there's no standards in terms of what's a good program that's actually teaching digital skills and what does that really mean. So I think I implore you that as we launch this, we need to kind of lean into that conversation. I like everything that you said because that's my pain point also as an ecosystem player, but also as an entrepreneur. I think it's almost hypocritical to talk about the digital space and the internet frustration. I pay over $2,000 a month, and that's painfully, wow. And it's still not good internet. And so what are we going to do about that? Maybe for partners coming with such a big program here, the first part is, can we lobby, Microsoft together with Startup Uganda or any other players to amplify the voice of entrepreneurs that are doing work and need that digital space? Everything else has gone through my head, but I'm quite excited. I think we're onto something, and it's nice to have this conversation. I think there's power in having people in a room, and that's the beginning. So good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any other comment, question? The room? Nicholas, please. But Shafi, do you have an announcement? Is Shafi in the room? Do you have an announcement to make? No? Okay, sorry. Please, Nicholas.
Mine is just an observation I'd like to share from one of the convenings we've had on skilling young people for the future of work. So we've also discovered that the digital inequality is not just driven by access, but the platforms themselves that are created to enable young people to participate in the future of work. Last month, CAS organized a conference on social media, AI, and the future of governance, and one of the topics we were discussing was the question of AI bias and digital inequality and how this is closely related. So there's this question of the proprietary software that young people can use to access digital work. And the sad reality is that 80% of these platforms, they're not homegrown ideas or platforms that are based in Africa. So you find that the access and control is influenced by Silicon Valley. So the rails or digital infrastructure in which we hope young people can use these platforms is still lacking, so there's a gap in that. So if we find or join forces, we can be able to find some of the ways in which the inequality is being caused. Like for instance, I'll give you a very vivid example. If you're applying for jobs online, did you know that an AI platform will be the first one to sieve your application? And chances are high, if there is bias in the platform, your application will not get through. So if you're not digital savvy, you will not know this, some of these challenges, but this is real, and we need to know how we can address this problem. So I think this is a conversation for another day, which involves having conversations with the tech platforms and seeing how we can promote responsible use of AI and also unlock some of these challenges that young people face online in terms of digital inequality. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas, for these very insightful comments. Any other? The man here and then the gentleman here on the back.
Okay, thank you. My name is Stephen Opio, and I come from International Labour Organization. One question that keeps tickling my mind whenever we talk about tech and innovations is, where is that young person from the last mile? Because most cases we talk about tech and innovations, but we rotate around the urban areas. So there is this young person in Isingiro, there is this young person in Amudat, there is this young person in Kisoro. How do we bring them into this conversation? Because this is where the majority of the young people are. So, and we know our community is largely agrarian. So how do we create a conversation that is inclusive of these young people at the last end of the mile and mindful of our economy, which is largely agrarian? So this is a question I throw to all of us, and I like the comments from, I think, Startup Hub. Yes? So, and also listening to the young lady here. When we meet in these spaces, the names begin to reflect on some of the paperwork we have seen in the past, or in the recent past. And it's good for us to come up with, even before we think of the launch, challenge ourselves. How do we create a regular platform where these conversations can be had? Because it's through the regular conversations that we begin to address the policy issues that require dialogue, that we begin to address the last end of the mile issues, that increases outreach to the young person in the rural areas. And I want to commit that ILO is interested in this space. We have interested our colleagues from the UN, UNICEF, who are implementing a program called iUpShift. And iUpShift is a social innovation program, but which lacks the entrepreneurial bit that turns the social innovation into an economic gain. So this is a conversation that would want to also throw into the space and see how do we move innovations out of just social components into economic outlooks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Opio. So before giving the floor to the panelists to react to your comments, question, there is a man in the back. He has a question.
Yes, good afternoon, gentlemen and ladies. My name is Pastor Peter Adewale of the Cloud Blessed Limited. I'm the CEO and a managing partner with Foundation Leads Uganda. I'm so glad to be a part of this program this afternoon. Mine is a suggestion, and the suggestion is I would like us as a family to try and do what we can, because even in developed world, there's what called lobbying. We should be able to lobby government to be able to see the need that ICT or technology starts from the kid. My little boy is just 15 years. A lot of things that I cannot code, he can do it. And in the college, in secondaries, like what the ILO representatives just said, now it's quite fantastic. You know, how do we reach them? If you look at the countries like Canada and European countries in the United States, the kind of tech lab they have, some of the universities here in Africa do not have it. They can actually take pictures, print out, black and white, color, do all stuff, which is so fantastic. You see a lot of guys here seated, is because they just have interest, and that's why they are where they are. We are now. This gentleman just spoke about something. The majority of the major hub that hold whatever we're doing is located in a country, in countries where we don't have access to what we are putting there. And it has put Africa in a total mess that we don't have control over the information we share. I'm fortunate to have attended one of the best universities in the world, but the sad fact is, how many percentage, even at that, I'm an African, I still remain an African. And our thinking should start from here. How can Africa really hold the data of Africa and be in control of the data of Africa? And we have what it takes, but we cannot do it alone. You're a Ghanaian, you're a Ugandan, you're a Nigerian, you are from Guinea, you're from Ivory Coast. We need to have a formidable force. First, as Ugandan, do we have a formidable force, or are we just trying to counter each other? I'm better than you and all that. We just need to unify and speak with one voice. Number one, have a kind of team that can go through the Minister for ICT or wherever, so they can bring a kind of policy that's going to give soft landing to entrepreneurs, the SMEs, especially in the area of ICT. Look at now, a lot of companies that we have here that are really doing well, like he said, they are foreign. Yes, we can start counting, but I don't want to mention names here. But it's important, if we really want to create employment, our content and whatever we do, our innovation should address the local need, you know, so that people in villages, internet will not be their problem to be able to access and be able to innovate and be able to roll things out. What AI is doing now, really, I'm crying every day when I see, because it's going to really put us at more disadvantage. A lot of programmers will be out of work soon. So we need to wake up. God bless us.
Thank you very much for your strong call of action. And one last question here, the lady. And after that, we give the floor to the panelists.
I had to ask if I really had to stand. My name is Tabitha Namwone. I'm a woman in technology. That's simply put. I work at Outbox Hub, but I'm also a Google Women Tech Makers Ambassador. I speak on behalf of young people and young women in technology. So my question is, going to the people in power in our midst today, what are we doing to make the ecosystem more technology friendly to the companies that want to break or want to stay in the ecosystem? For example, we have, amongst software developers and people in technology, we have an incredible brain drain that is happening. I do not know whether we are alive to the fact that majority of the technology talent that could stay and grow our ecosystem leaves at the slightest drop of a hat. In the event that somebody says, oh, I have an offer for you abroad, or they will leave. And it's quite worrying, because our ecosystem in the next 5 years is going to suffer a very big blow, because we will barely have a lot of homegrown talent or really well-skilled youth who will be around to help us grow what we have got. So what can be done, or what are you doing to make this more friendly for these people to stay around here and want to work in this ecosystem? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So dear panelists, the floor is yours now if you want to react to the comments, to the questions. If any of you wants to react. Mr. Wandara, you want to say something?
Okay, thank you very much. The Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, you're very welcome, Honorable. Now, I take note of the concerns, especially of the young people, on the binding constraints of using ICT, particularly the internet, to grow your businesses. Your concerns will be relayed to the Minister of ICT, but also the Minister of Innovation is here, who is very competent on her ministry to deal with that. But let me just add that you've been talking a lot of IT, but let me give you a very short history lesson. I don't know whether any of you knows when the internet was first switched on in Uganda. 5th August 1995. I don't know where you are. Yes. Aha. Now, at the time, the internet was only available at a place which was called Uganda Computer Services, I think, at Ministry of Finance. They used to do the government payroll. Then later, if you wanted to access internet, you went to what was called an internet cafe. That was the biggest business in town. Then cable internet came in offices. To have it in your office was big. Then the modem. It was for a chosen few. Today, you can access, you don't need a modem, you don't need cable, you don't need to go to an internet cafe. We have been running, but what I hear from the young people is that we should run faster. And your voice has been heard. And your government is one that listens, and that would like young people to be innovative and to create jobs. Fortunately, the Minister for Innovation is here. But I would like to tell you, I move. I move once in a while. I move around. But internet and Opio, you also move. I do not want to mention countries. Our internet is one of the most stable in this region. It could be expensive, but anywhere you go, you will find it. There are some of the countries in the region, when you get out of the capital, you can't access internet. But we have heard your concerns. Then on business registration, we have taken note, and working with our Department of Youth, we are going to engage Uganda Registration Services Bureau to come up with innovative ways of supporting, making it easy for young people to register their businesses. That we have noted. Then you asked about some of the programs we have to support young people with finance. They are open to youth. those who already are running businesses and those who are not. And before you get money, you undergo business skills training depending on the choice of your enterprise. So this is something we can discuss outside of this. But I also know you spoke about venture capital. The NSSF with MasterCard are running a program called High Innovator. I don't know, have you enrolled? Yeah, and they are giving up to 70 million shillings. But listening to you, I think NSSF will have to relax some of the requirements for young people, because they're asking for a business plan, but as she said, for them, they have the ideas, they develop a product, they don't know how to prepare a business plan, they might not have audited books of accounts, because how do you expect her to have business books, audited books of accounts, when she's just starting? First of all, no auditor will accept to work for her because she does not have money to pay. So I hear you, and after this, I'm going to engage Mr. Ayota Patrick, the MD of NSSF, about coming up with youth-specific requirements under the High Innovator program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wandara. Please, Mr. Cormill.
Yes, thank you very much for that small history lesson. I'm actually a history teacher. So I actually am born the year the internet was invented. So what year the internet was invented? Do you know? Yes, but what year is that? 1969. But I want to come back to your question, as CK is not here. I think Innovation Village has already moved from Kampala to secondary cities in 5. Can you name them? Gulu, Mbarara. Yeah, me too. So it is already happening that there are digital innovation hubs are spreading to secondary cities in Kampala. And for example, as for Enable, we did a pilot project sponsored by the EU. And so we went to refugee settlements to do a hackathon, to gather ideas on digital businesses or startups that they could set up. So even there are players that are really getting into the last mile, let's say, of people who have less access to this kind of ecosystem. So I think slowly it is happening. And I hope in the future, of course, that everybody will have access to these kinds of services. There's also something called the EU D4D Hub. And at the moment, they are doing a research to transform your postal offices into e-government services that can offer e-government services and give digital skills training for people in the last mile, let's say. So things are moving in Uganda, also not only staying in Kampala, but also spreading across the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments, reaction? Mrs.
Maybe just one from me. I like what she talked about, employees coming at work and are not able to deliver, especially the young people. And I say, as much as we are creating so many policies, we need one that embraces teaching young people all these skills straight from school. Because once they learn the value of why they should be learning English, that it would help you edit, or why would you be getting interested in technology or the computer, they usually get to be better people. So all these programs that are we can't work from up without starting from the inside, from the down, starting them young. as early as primary school. What are those programs that go on? If the government is also interested in them, because some of the programs we do are stopped short because of lack of support that should have been there already, especially from the government, the ministry. And if that is worked upon, we know that young people are ready to learn. They need to see from whom to learn from, have the role models, have the idea of what they envision right after school. So for them to come out of school, and that's when they encounter everything, kind of brings all of these, the problems, most of the challenges we are talking about in employability. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Linda?
I think mine, first of all, I would love to thank Mr. Wandera for noting down my key points and then also promising to follow through with them. I really appreciate that. But then also to add on what a gentleman earlier there said about artificial intelligence and also technology and everything. Yes, the internet came and it stayed with us. AI has come, it will probably stay with us. And also it would be good for us to leverage on AI, especially when it comes to education and learning. And yeah, I think that's all.
Thank you very much, Linda. So dear distinguished panelists, dear audience, thank you very much. Before giving back the floor to Shafi, I would like to say something very important, is that Take at Work does not aim only to train 5,000 young people in Uganda, but also to give them economic opportunity. And our member, the Federation of Uganda Employers, is fully committed really to address this challenge, the FUE and all its members. But as I said earlier, the challenge of youth employment cannot be addressed by a single actor. It cannot be addressed by the IOE only, by the ILO only, by the FUE only. There is a need for all of us to be involved. So please, Take at Work is also your program. It is a free program that we are offering to the young people of Uganda. We need your help to make sure that at least, I'm saying at least 5,000 young people are trained. We have with us online today, in addition to Mrs. Winnie Karanu, we have Ashi Gutpa, the program manager of Microsoft, and Kate Burns. Also who manage international relations for Microsoft, and they're listening. We need your support, we need your help to make sure that Take at Work is a success. We owe it to the young people of Uganda. Thank you again for listening to us and to me, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you so much indeed, Amadou, for those closing words and for moderating the session so well. Now, as we move into the closing, I would like to recognize the Deputy Principal of MOBS, Professor Moses Muhwezi. I saw him walking. Yes. As we arrange to conclude, I'd like to give him a few minutes to just talk to us. MOBS is one of the few kitchens of youth entrepreneurship in Uganda. So I think if successful, we'll just give an opportunity to just speak to us, especially about how the education system prepares these young entrepreneurs. Professor, I'll just give you a mic so that feel free to.
Thank you so much, the Honorable Minister of Technology, all government officials and Federation of Uganda Employers. I'm Professor Moses Muhwezi. I'm the Deputy Principal of Makerere University Business School, and I'm standing in for Professor Barunywa, the Principal, who is engaged somewhere. They asked us to explain what we are doing to ensure that these students that come out of the university are ready for entrepreneurial orientation kind of arrangement and are able to be useful to society. Makerere University Business School is the biggest business school, perhaps in East Africa. We have 20,000 students, and all these students do entrepreneurship. We appreciate, ladies and gentlemen, that there are gaps in the education system, and everybody now is dealing with the gaps in the curricula. Right now there is a conference about curriculum development, and we know that curriculum is central, so we are engaged in changing the curriculum to ensure that is relevant for this country. We are aware, ladies and gentlemen, that the world requires a balanced worker. We want to give knowledge, but we also want wisdom. Somebody who is able to interpret life, the meaning of life. And therefore, the tutoring we are doing, you know, tutoring has 3 components: the cognitive, to recall and to remember, the affective issues of mindset change, and actually Makerere has started a compulsory course in mindset change to deal with this issue. And the issue of psychomotor, the hands-on, this is why now the university, we are pressing our students for 16 weeks in the industry. The challenge, Honorable Minister, is that there is no enough placements. We don't have enough placements, and the business community seem not to understand the concept of placement. The university is trying to note the diploma disease, that if it is not assessed, is not important. Therefore, students must cram and pass exams. This is what we are fighting against, to ensure that the students are actually ready. And we are also trying to let teachers know that they should take up a mentorship role, not to simply be the fountain of knowledge, that everybody must listen to them. You know, the previous position of a lecturer, if you keep asking many questions, we say you have gezi. This student is indisciplined. We want to take up a mentorship role so that these students are able to discover and able to learn and bring the experiences. Then we share experiences in the class setting. And Honorable Minister, the public must know that going into vocational education is not a sign of failure, so that these people can go and do a vocation. If I had power in this country, I would ensure BCom +1. BCom +1 means you do BCom, but you also do certain skill like plumbing, like electrical installation, because every week we have challenges every month in our homes to do with plumbing, electrical installation. I studied in Netherlands, and I saw universities where you would do a degree, but you also, in addition, do one course that is practical. Then would have changed the mindset of these students to know that doing plumbing or these other activities is not something that should be taken light. And we are leveraging on ICT, the topic of today, e-learning and digitization. When COVID came, we were forced into this, and now at the business school, actually in Makerere, 50% of programs are run online. Of course, using Zoom is not the right thing. We need learner management systems in the university so that students can take themselves through the learning processes, and the lecturer simply comes to connect the dots in 20 minutes, and you leave students to learn on their own. This is what we are doing, and the challenge has been attitude, but now students have changed into this. They have realized their age group, they are natives of the internet, so they are able to move on well with the internet. And we intend to use YouTube's websites to have these students educate themselves and know a lot. With entrepreneurship, the business school has the biggest faculty, and new ideas, innovative ideas are welcome, and we are trying to use the right pedagogy. Pedagogy is important. Allow students to discover themselves. Allow students to know that obstacles are opportunities. Allowing students to know that setbacks are lessons. So these people are able to now take up that mindset, to have the mindset of entrepreneurship and create jobs. We want to enhance connections, the visits to the industry, and to ensure that we have guest lectures. We have guest lectures for every finalizing class. We don't want to give them only theory. We pick somebody who has been in the field, comes to the class and teaches them what happens there. You don't need a PhD to do that. I remember one time we brought Madame Kajina to teach about taxation, and people were standing in windows because they wanted to hear from this person that has practiced this. So for every subject, that's what we are doing to ensure that we have that practical aspect. Like I said, we attach them to the industry for 16 weeks. We have a supervisor in the industry to go through what they do and mark and assess. They also assess. And we also assess. Honorable Minister, we are working through that to have people we call professors of practice, not professors with PhD and publications, professors of practice, who come to class and bring in their knowledge and skill and participate in supervision. They are part of doctoral panels of PhD so that we improve on the way we do things. We are aware that all practical things we see internet, Zuckerberg of Facebook did this while in the dormitory as a student. You are aware of all these innovations that they were done at a young age. So these students are very, very, very important in the whole process of transformation of this country. We need to realize that, and if possible, Honorable Minister, we need some seed capital for some of the applications and innovations these students are trying to put across. We have brought in mentorship as part of our arrangement, attach every 10 students to a mentor, so that these people are able to know what happens outside the university wall. We want to thank government. They enabled us to start the Innovation and Incubation Center in all public universities, and these are doing wonders. There are innovations at a low level, but they create that mindset to know that, look here, we have a role for nation building. And we try to support these students through non-academic lectures, lectures of persistence, lectures of telling them to have that devotion, that commitment, that patriotism. And at the end of the day, our students, ladies and gentlemen, I think are ready to use technology and are ready to face the world. Thank you so much. I'm humbled to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Professor. As we wind up, as we get into the official launch ceremony, I would like to recognize my chairman of Junior Achievement Uganda, Stuart Mwesiga, who is a prominent face on issues of skilling the youth in Uganda. I'd also like to recognize, I can see Ronald Mayanja. He's one of us who works with a certain youth entity, but he's also a key steering committee member of the Global Compact Network Uganda. We are going to have the minister speak to us and officially launch the Tech at Work training in Uganda. But before that, we have to move the right way in terms of protocol. Since we have a director here with us, we are going to request Mr. Martin Wandera, the Director, Labor, Employment and Occupational Safety and Health in the Ministry of Gender. He will invite the Minister, but before Martin, we'll give an opportunity to Douglas to brief the Minister about what Tech at Work is all about. And before we do that, I'll also give an opportunity to Sarah Ken, who is the Managing Director of Synapse Center. He's with us virtually. He's online. He's somewhere in Africa. Mr. Ken is the principal or the headmaster of this training. So he's been doing a great piece of work, putting together the training module, how the youth are going to be trained, and so on and so forth. That's why I refer to him as the principal or the headmaster of this training that we are going to launch. Mr. Ken, I would like to invite you to speak to us as part of the closing before we come back live here. Over to you.
Me?
Say that again.
Can you hear me?
Oh yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much for this kind introduction. Madam the Minister, distinguished guests, hello everyone. What an exciting moment this is, isn't it? As we come to the end of this launching ceremony, I'm thrilled to still see the energy and excitement in this room. I wish I was there with you. I would like to take this opportunity to celebrate the excellence of the cooperation between our organizations for the benefit of young people in Africa. With the launching ceremony of the Tech at Work program in Uganda, we have taken another giant leap toward building a better future for youth in Africa. So I would like to congratulate Amadou and all our partners at the International Organization of Employers for the excellent work you are doing for the benefit of employers and for the benefit of youth in Africa in particular in this project that we are launching today. I would also like to express my heartfelt thanks to our dear friend at Microsoft Philanthropies for their heartfelt support over the past years, and most importantly, for their great efforts in Africa and around the world to support the development of the next generation of leaders and entrepreneurs. And many thanks to the Federation of Uganda Employers for their important support in the implementation of the Tech at Work program in Uganda, and to our panelists who showed us their friendship by agreeing to share their rich experiences, ideas, and practices that will enrich the program. And thanks to everyone from government, NGOs, and the private sector who have made time to be there with this inspiring group of first beneficiaries of the Tech at Work program in Uganda. The Tech at Work program is more than just a training program. It is a step toward empowering our youth to be the leaders of tomorrow. By equipping them with the necessary skills and tools to succeed, we are investing in a brighter future for our communities. I'm proud to say that we have united an incredible team of partners, trainers, coaches, and volunteers who are dedicated to making this program a success. With their guidance and support, our youth will be equipped with the skills, knowledge, and confidence to take on any challenge that comes their way. But this is just the beginning. We need everyone's support to make this program a success. Like Amadou said, we need the support of the whole community, the government, and in particular the private sector, to ensure that our youth have access to the opportunities they need to thrive. With everyone's contribution, the Tech at Work program will undoubtedly have a significant impact on the life of thousands of young beneficiaries. By the end of the program in Uganda, we hope that many of them will have developed their professional skills and found their deep jobs, and several will have developed their entrepreneurial qualities to realize their dream of starting or developing their own income-generating activity. So let us work together to make the program a success. Thank you all again for being here and for your support, and I encourage all of us to stay connected with each other on the road ahead. Let's get to work. Thank you very much, Shafi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ken, for those kind words. We really appreciate the work that you've put into developing this training. Getting back here, I almost want to retire myself, but that will be with Douglas's permission as usual. Now I would like to request him, after him it will be the director and then the minister. But members, I would like to inform you that the Honorable Minister has a cocktail prepared where she wants to host all of us. The Honorable Minister's cocktail after this. So that is my last word. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope those are not your last word. You should have a few more to interact with people during the cocktail. Dear Honorable Minister, we are extremely honored to have you here with us. But also from a government side, we understand your commitment to issues of science and technology. Your presence here and your commitment to stay with us until the very end is a demonstration of that fact. And so we are very grateful. The message is reaching us. I know initially from the side of the public, there was a bit of resistance. We were thinking, what about us who did that, like me who is a history man? Where is our place in this government arrangement? But we have all come to accept that it's important for us to prioritize STEM if we are to move forward as a country. So for that, we are extremely grateful. And we reassure you of our commitment from the side of the Federation of Uganda Employers that we are with you on this journey. And with us, we bring the employers. The young people who are present here, I'm particularly happy with your level of energy. It gives me a different picture compared to what I had with the 2021 report. The 2021 National Labor Force Survey report was showing that 60% of you are jobless, but also not searching. You see, that kind of disappointment. But the energy levels I'm seeing today, it's much more different. It means you're looking out for opportunities, you want to make yourself better, you even want government to do a few things for you so that we can do much better. So I appreciate you for that. I appreciate your commitment to contributing to the development of your country, to making lives of all of us a lot better. Thirdly, which I want to highlight, is the issue of behavioral competence. Within this program, we are not only focusing on the hard skills, your ability to use technology, but we are also looking at the soft skills. Ask any employer anywhere in Uganda, they will tell you about the attitude of our young people. They don't like it. That we have a negative attitude to work. We cry for a job, but once given a job, we forget that yesterday we were jobless. And we start to come at work anytime we want. We start to do reports 2 weeks after the deadline. We start to behave as though we are not even the owners, perhaps even above the owners of the business. So attitude, mindset change is extremely important. And within this program, we are also intending to address that. We are intending to harness those capabilities, because it doesn't matter how good you are, but if it doesn't come with the right behavioral competence, you still cannot achieve your life's goal. I want to highlight in particular our work with the International Labour Organization. The ILO has been very supportive of our work, but more so helping us to reach the last mile. I'm glad you don't just speak about the last mile, but you actually take your program to the last mile. Even us, as the Federation of Employers, we were also looking at the people in the main cities. But with ILO, we have been able to reach entrepreneurs, we have been able to reach refugees, we have been able to reach women, the youth, in areas that where ordinarily we wouldn't be. So thank you so much for that. That deserves an applause for sure. So we are extremely grateful to the ILO. We are also extremely grateful to IOE for your support. IOE has supported employers not only locally here in Uganda, but also at the global level. So we are part of the global discussions as well through the interventions of ILO. And of course, I can't thank Synapse enough, because the way the program has been designed, very short, 9-day program, but the impact can last a lifetime. 9 days of training with an impact over the entire course of your life. So we appreciate the design of the program. We appreciate everything that has been done. And of course, Microsoft. We have always interacted with Microsoft from the computer, but now we have Microsoft right here with us. And what a privilege, yeah, to have Microsoft itself, not just hearing it as an app, but individuals. So we seen a number of colleagues from Microsoft joining us today. We are very grateful for that as well. And then, as I draw to a close, I just want to thank the government again. Director Martin, you're here. I know Minister put you here as a dangerous substitute, and you always deliver. But as the ministry responsible for gender, I want to thank you so much. You have been very receptive of the ideas that we bring as employers. It's not a dictatorship. You don't decide and ask us to follow. You're leaders that allow us to make our input. I don't recall, I've worked now for the Federation close to 15 years now, but I don't recall a single time when the ministry didn't involve us. Whether it was policy making, legislation, whatever it is. So for that, I don't take it for granted that you're a government that consults us. You're a government that allows our voice to be heard. And I know these challenges can be there, but over the years, a lot of it has also been dealt with. So I'm extremely grateful to the government. So on that note, I want to close my remark at this and to thank each one of you. It's coming late in the day, so I don't have enough English to thank you. I've used a lot since morning. But you can be rest assured, if I was using my local language, a lot would still be there to say. But now, since I had a package of English now getting diminished a bit, you might not hear the happiness in my heart. But I want to thank all of you very much, and to thank you once again, our Honorable Minister, for leading from the front. Not just doing like others that it's only you do what I say, but for me, I can do something else. You speak, but also do it yourself. So thank you so much for that. On that note now, I would like to invite my brother, also my friend, very knowledgeable as well, but now also my minister, to invite your colleague to speak to us. Thank you so much.
Honorable Minister, my duty this afternoon is to invite you to address us. But before I do that, permit me to take this opportunity to thank you for the selfless contribution you have made in Uganda and Africa in the fighting and management of epidemics and pandemics. Your work in fighting Ebola in West Africa and Uganda is known, but most recently, you are at the forefront of managing the COVID pandemic in Uganda, and thanks to your efforts together with other colleagues, we are able to sit here without masks. Having said that, it's now my singular honor and privilege to invite you to address us. Honorable Minister, you're welcome.
I'm the Director, Labor, in the Ministry of Gender.
I haven't actually captured everybody here, so all protocol observed. I've captured a few people, but be assured that you are recognized. I had to argue with myself so that I give up the temptation of giving you a presentation, which is my favorite way of talking. So I'll try to make remarks as they are. So first I want to express my gratitude for inviting me to come and interact with you. At first, when I received this invitation, my PA kept telling me, and I was like, Federation of Employees, what do they want from me? But having sat here and having read the document that you sent me, which provided information, I'm glad that you invited me, and I'm very glad that I've been able to find time to be here. I apologize for coming late. I hate not keeping time, because if I'm late by 5 minutes, then I make each one of you lose 5 minutes, and the man hours lost are very many. And that appreciation of that is at the core, the lack of appreciation of that is at the core of what partly we are lamenting about here, productivity. The ability for us to produce value per unit time that is able to sustain a business and that is able to sustain the employees and that is able to bring growth, I think is what has kept coming to my mind. And although we are talking about Take At Work, why do we want to use Take At Work? Because we want to accelerate productivity. When a business is struggling, it's because the productivity is too low to meet the costs of the business. And I want to introduce one of my staff whom I came with here, Joshua. We have a very interesting setup at STI. I'll share with you towards the end. Joshua is the team lead for productivity acceleration at STI. And for the purposes of, because I never go to places just to appear. I'm not a ceremonial minister, I am a technical minister. So when I come here, I want to establish lasting relationships and working relationship. So Joshua will be your formal focal point in following up with us in any issue that has to do with STI. And I love speaking to small groups of people because I feel I make a bigger impact there than addressing masses. So Joshua is the team lead for productivity acceleration. And I'm really happy to get you director. I hope, Joshua, you had linked up because Joshua's task is to demonstrate productivity, to innovate ways of how Ugandans can accelerate productivity. So some months ago, I told him, how are you measuring your performance? I told him, go to the Ministry of Gender and find the people who are in charge of productivity and pick the indicators. Let's see if they actually measure productivity. In an ecosystem like Uganda, where you really don't have a way of measuring the value produced by people. And these are some of the things that we shy away from confronting. How do you judge how much to pay a person in Uganda? How do you judge? Because we don't really have those measures that somebody is very productive, and so we are paying them this much per hour because this person is creating $10 per hour, so we are going to pay them $4 per hour so that we retain the $6 per hour, and after meeting the other costs, the business is going to be making $2 per hour as a profit from this person. So we simply look at how much we negotiate, how many degrees do you have, what is the experience do you have. Friends, that doesn't translate in productivity. It doesn't. And I want also to submit that if we do not pick up this issue of productivity, even training people in tech at work, we just create some more free time for them. It will not bring the productivity that we crave. So I specialize in disrupting things. I specialize in disrupting things. So in my remarks, I'll say a few things that you may not feel very comfortable with, but that is exactly what they are intended to achieve. If I can make you uncomfortable in your seat, I've achieved my goal of being here. So thank you, first of all. I'm beginning to hear my success, because when I started working as a senior presidential advisor and started working with innovation, but just a small bit to do with epidemics, the famous vaccines and diagnostics you've heard of, which is, for me, a miracle because of what I know how much we have been able to achieve, and started interacting with universities. Universities were very happy. We have graduated so many PhDs. We have published so many papers. We are running so many programs. And I was asking them, so why is Uganda still poor? Why are we still struggling? And have I had the courage to confront you with these things? And these days now, I don't have to talk about that because they tell me before I tell them, which is good, and now I need to shift to the next level. So thank you for giving me that feedback. And we need to cause the discomfort. I like universities because universities somehow stand at the pivot and they influence what is going down in our nation. They are the ones who train the teachers. They are the ones who shape the workers. They are the ones who shape those who shape the workers downstream. So if you can change mindset at university, you can be able to change a workforce. So I want to make a few observations for you. One, over the past 1.5 years, I've interacted with a cross-section of Ugandan innovators, startups, entrepreneurs. One of my observations is that 80% of them are innovating for 20% of the population. And so they are crowded with non-consumption of their innovations. They are all trying to crowd in the same market. And very few people are innovating for 80% of the population. And so we are not reaching them. And so the young entrepreneurs are struggling because you are innovating for your friends, not for the large population of Ugandans. You don't understand actually the needs of those Ugandans, because most of us are elite, we are around town, and if you are up country and you become an entrepreneur, you quickly move to the urban center, because that's where the opportunities are, and then you quickly begin to innovate for the people like you. I've been talking to a lot of policymakers, especially those in private, not policymakers, but those engaged in private education, or even those making higher decisions for education. They make decisions as if all Ugandans are going to schools where their children are going. The majority of Ugandans are not going to that school. And so we miss the big market. Somebody wrote a book, I don't remember the name of the author, but I wrote the book. It talked about the fortune at the bottom. So I want to challenge you, young entrepreneurs. Are you reaching the market of Uganda? Uganda's one advantage is the demographics. We have a huge population, but you have not yet satisfied even that small bit. Now, if we take an example of someone who innovated something for Uganda and Africa, mobile money. They have been able to reach the poorest. I don't think that person is struggling with the same issues that we are struggling with. Are they? No. Because they have been able to reach. So as long as entrepreneurship is targeted at the apex of the demographics of the nation socially, and we are not innovating to cross the barriers to reach somebody in Alebton, to reach somebody in Kapelebion. As long as our innovations are around Kampala and Jinja and Gulu, and we're going to keep struggling with the market. Because the population around Uganda, around Kampala and Gulu is the same market that somebody in New York is targeting. Because they can reach them on social media. So I want to challenge us, especially with innovation. Can we look at the problems of Ugandans and create businesses and small enterprises that serve the average person? And the average person in Uganda earns less than 70,000 shillings per month. But if you can reach them, because that's where mobile money makes their money, by reaching that population. The second thing is, and I like the comment I found the gentleman over there making from Belgium. We are too conscious of challenges and very unconscious of opportunities. There are so many opportunities in this country. Very many opportunities. But sometimes when we have innovated something or we have started a small business, we are concentrated around there, and there are so many challenges, so many challenges. And by the way, I qualify to talk to you about this because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur, and I had no idea. I started a school business. I have 3 schools. I started my first school in 2001. I had no idea what to do. You know, I had some job which was giving me a little bit of money, but my passion was I have a lot of passion. Every time I retire, I've retired a few times. Every time I retire, I go back to my skills. That's what's in my heart. I love to give people opportunity. I love education. I love education, and I do everything I do because I see opportunities for education. So I saw an opportunity in a village and started a school. So I know the pain my sister here was talking about. You don't have access to capital. I remember going to one bank, I will not mention, to get some money because I needed to buy desks. The schools were going to open. I'd managed to prepare 2 classrooms. I was opening 2 and an office, and I needed some money to buy some desks and some scholastic materials. And we went with a loan officer to my school. By the time he reached there, his white shirt was full of dust because by that time I was broke to the bone. And they said they needed me to provide transport for the loan officer. So I went to my cousin who had a very old special hire. And I told him, can you help me take this loan officer? The windows couldn't close. So by the time this big, beautifully dressed gentleman reached, he just reached the place, he said, I just want to go back. I hate this. and I was denied the loan. So I understand where you're coming from, but I want to encourage you that there are so many opportunities in this country. And most of each of the challenges that you mention is an opportunity. Therein it is pregnant with an opportunity. So I'm not dismissing your challenges. I am encouraging you to look that innovation is born out of challenges. And maybe that is the innovation that is waiting for you to break through. The third thing I want to mention is about interaction. Sometimes I'm amazed at how many things are going on in the country. But when I became minister, I was also amazed at the level of fragmentation and lack of interlinkages. You know, we are talking about policy, but after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, there is no policy still. But we are meeting in these boardrooms talking about policies. We are talking and talking and talking, but because of the fragmentation of how we work. So there is too much in our ecosystem, and what we see is not correlated. So at STI, one of the things that we are focusing on is to coalesce. We are too small to compete. We actually need to complement so that we can begin to create the force that we need. Because no matter what you're doing, if it's incomplete. So I see so many young people in innovation hubs, you go there, the government has not done this, the government has not done this. And I'm wondering, which government? Because there are so many government fragments too. So the ability for us to come together. So that's one of the things that we're doing. And hopefully we'll come up with a framework within which we can work together. And even if just you benefiting to seeing what is happening in the country just in one chat, and then you begin to find opportunities to solve some of the problems. So I hope that the programs that we are starting here will harness linkages and create linkages. For example, innovation funding. I don't know how many they are, and they don't speak to each other. It didn't take me long to discover that the person who won in our innovation award is the same person who won at NSSF, and is the same person who won at another. And I'm like, are they using these funds to grow? And I realized that that was an income generating activity to give them some money for subsistence. They are not actually focusing on growing their businesses and developing their startups. We call it grantpreneur now. We have a word, grantpreneurship. And it flows in the, I just recite some of the winners and realize, oh, this person has won 5 awards. But the product, the business is still at exactly the same level. It's not progressing. And for us, when we offered those awards once and we realized, I don't think this is the best way to support innovators. When we insisted that, this is coming with mentorship, with seeing exactly, tell us, where are you going? People just went, give us our money. Give us our money. The ministry has eaten our money, and then now, but the goal is to grow you. All these programs are coming so that you can grow. We understand the challenges we have with livelihood, but to grow a business is a sacrifice and a focus. But the fragmentation allows such things to continue. People train here, before they train, they go for another training, and they never have opportunity to put into action what they're training on. And the fourth thing I want to observe is in terms of tech. And maybe this is an innovation opportunity. When I go on TikTok, rarely do I see a young innovator presenting their innovation. Rarely. From here. What comes up? Potholes, mabati. So your audience, which are the potential customers, are fed on useless entertainment. Rarely do I see, until I go, maybe I go to Google Play and actively search out apps for Uganda, rarely is it ever thrown in my face. So how are you harnessing tech? Even if you put in that $1 for advertising, how are you leveraging it? If our population, if the audience, which has some cash to spend, is not seeing your ads, because it is not what is coming. When I go on Facebook, they will prioritize stories of corruption, they will prioritize stories of people abusing each other. How do we innovate to make this tech ecosystem supportive of entrepreneurship? The visibility of your small and micro enterprises is very poor to those of us who could support you, who could buy your product. I see Alibaba more than I see your product. The moment I turn on anything, Alibaba is right there in my face. What about your products? You think I learn about innovations in meetings like this and small exhibitions, but they are not there on social media. They are not there on the communication platforms. So where are the innovators innovating to optimize the Ugandan market on the internet for Ugandan entrepreneurs, such that they can sell? So those are some of the few observations I have made in our ecosystem. The structure of the demographics is an opportunity to be harnessed. We are not harnessing it very well. There are so many opportunities daily. We need to tune our eyes. You know, for most of you, you know that many people in media love to insult me, but they have made me very famous. I can't go anywhere and nobody knows me. There are ministers you don't know, isn't it? Yeah, there are ministers you don't know, but Msenero, you know. So although it is meant to be bad, they have also made me famous. I have a brand. You now have to make up your mind whether you like me or you don't. But I am there in your face. So how do we harness? And that's why I keep going and smiling, and I enjoy my work, and I'm very happy. And every day I am driving everybody crazy with the work. So let me go the last part of my presentation to you today. STI, Science, Technology, and Innovation. You may be aware or not that there was a reorganization of science, technology, and innovation in that country starting 2021. And we created a a business-like secretariat, which we run. I believe that government should model for private sector. That is what I believe. Especially in a new environment like us. If a child went to a school where the teacher came late, was in a shabby office, was always complaining. They went to the university where many of the lectures were not delivered, or they had to stand in the window to listen in. And then they come and they go to be employed in a small business. Where did they learn how to be employees? They are going to be a formation of what they picked up. And because of that, then when they come to our offices, we are unattentive, us as government. We are unattentive. You make people wait in the lounge for hours. You know, you don't give them the attention. At my office, the maximum time a person will wait is 30 minutes. And that is if it's inevitable. I hate people coming to sit there waiting to see the minister. They are busy people. Their time is valuable. So if I tell you I'm going to see you at that time, I will be available at that time and see you. And so are my people. If Joshua says we are going to have a Zoom meeting at 6 a.m., by the time anybody logs on, Joshua will already be there. So we want to demonstrate what a good work ethic is. We want to model. We went to UMA and we set up a booth to exhibit. And the UMA ED that time said, you people, you are making us look like a slum. I said, government should be the standard. Because where will our people go to learn? I want when you come to STI to pick a positive work ethic. And I'm the champion of it. If I make my staff wait for me, then they are going to make other people wait for them. So we need to model that. So for the issue of workforce, the issue of employees who can deliver, it's a product of what we have in the environment. And if you want something different, then you'll have to create it. Don't expect that a graduate coming from Makerere is automatically going to know about work ethic. So when you're training these people, the people who are training them, please give them the facts about Uganda. Sometimes we focus on training the entrepreneurs, but we don't train the workers. And the entrepreneurs are so upbeat, you know, they want things to work, but the gap between them and their people is very high. It's amazing how much turnover I have of teachers. Yeah, doctor makes us work very hard. No, she's very demanding. At STI, I don't have turnover yet because they have been trained. So one of the things I want to appeal to those who are training our young people as entrepreneurs is focus on training them on how to develop people. If they don't know how to develop people, they are going to struggle. If you just have somebody who has come, they need some money, maybe this is their first job, they want to get some money and they want to dodge work and they don't really appreciate that this is a business, that timeliness of doing things, quality of doing things, customer care, you know, taking initiative. So in addition to whatever you're training them, help the entrepreneurs to learn how to train and build their workforce, because it is not yet being done anywhere else. The masses just run through school, they run through university, and then suddenly you are their employer. Now you have to take on that additional responsibility to build the work ethic you need. And sometimes it goes for uncomfortable things. A few months ago, I introduced something I call team development. And for those who are just, you could see the mouth, I say this is mandatory and you're going to be here, and I'm usually there first. And I sit there with them. I don't make people do what I don't do. So let's teach people how to build a team. Just teaching them how to use tech may not solve the issues, the character issues, the mindset issues, the attitude issues are very important, and the entrepreneur must first take on that responsibility to build the team. Otherwise, the turnover, the losses, the moment there is a hardship, they will take off. As she was saying, they will run away from you. And so let's also build their ability to do that. They are not bad people, by the way. That's just what they picked up from the environment. And I've realized that if you invest in them, they can turn. One or two may not turn out right, but I have about 90% success rate at STI. Converting people who had very different attitudes and very different work experiences, and you bring them together and they gel together and they have passion for work. They really have passion for work. Most people, when they come to STI, they always ask, are you government employees? Say yes, and we are exactly supposed to be like this. So the other thing I want to share with you is the structure we have and the opportunities available for innovators and young entrepreneurs and startups. You notice that the term innovation as a function of a ministry appears in two ministries of government, in ICT and in science, technology, and innovation. We don't compete, we complement. So at STI, we have two main divisions, what would be the equivalent of a directorate. We don't call them directorates, we call them superintendencies. And the people who lead them are superintendents. There is a superintendent of industrial value chains. That's the one who works with the science and developing of the innovations, coming up with prototypes. And we have a superintendent of support services. And that's the one who works to create and to support the entrepreneurs and the young innovators to take their innovations through the process. We call it the idea to market journey. That's one thing you have missed because I'm not giving a presentation. But when we meet in another, you will see it's an innovation, something we have done a lot of thinking, and we have studied the roadblocks of entrepreneurs, despite the abundance of support, and government may not be providing, but all these friends of ours are providing a lot of these opportunities. We are seeing very few sustainable businesses coming out of our innovations. And so we have support services, advisory on how to go to get funds. We call it preparing, we prepare innovators and small businesses for funding. People will sit with you, they'll visit you, they'll give you support, will give you the linkages, work with you to UDP and discuss with you on your behalf to build the confidence. Whatever they tell us, we'll come back with you and understand, help you to walk through so that you can hit the market. And we'll also give you the awareness, which I think is missing. Because one of the things I quickly learned is that we are building our innovation and small enterprises on the American model. And many of the trainings, most of the books, many of your role models, they are from Europe. The issue is that building that business here, based on that model, is like having an ectopic pregnancy. It will kill you. You know an ectopic pregnancy? You don't know? You know? Yeah. An ectopic, you know, a pregnancy, a baby is supposed to grow in the womb. So when the baby grows outside where they are supposed to grow, we call it an ectopic pregnancy. And although a baby is good, eventually either the baby dies or both die. So many people are struggling because they are trying to build a Silicon Valley-like business. Friends, it doesn't work here. So we need to have the courage. I keep telling my people, we need to have the courage to reinvent the wheel. I know you don't want to hear that. And many of the training gurus will tell you, don't reinvent the wheel. You need to reinvent the wheel. Because where are those venture funds that you're working for? Where are they? You go to every funder here, they are so risk-averse. They are not there. And sometimes we're not helping our young people to face the realities of where we are. These babies will have to grow here. There is corruption, there is poor service, even from private sector. there is lack of understanding. In many countries, small businesses thrive because they are big businesses. And many small and micro enterprises are B2B, business to business. But here you are starting your tiny business and the final consumer is your main customer. A little change in their habits and you are out of clients. Am I saying it is impossible? No. It's because we need to reinvent the wheel. And at STI, we have come up with a few things, a few tools, a few questions. We take people and you see pain. Somebody has been around for 10 years. They sort of look big. They have got a UNDP grant and got finished, and their business is still this. They have got a grant from World Bank, $2 million, 10 years. And he comes to me and says, Doctor, I can't manage this thing. Up to now, when the grant money is finished, can't pay the staff. Is this a reality I'm talking about? Yes. It's not that they are bad people. It's just that they are building their business in the different ecosystem. And I'm afraid to say sometimes the training and skillings are not context appropriate. And so they struggle. It will take you 2 years to get a small loan from our development bank. How will you have survived for 2 years? The business will be dead, isn't it? The opportunity will be gone. So now we need to confront some of these things, and we have taken them on at STI. We are not only supporting innovators, we are innovating the innovation ecosystem. We are innovating the environment. We are innovating the processes so that we will be able to create a unique business growth environment that thrives in here. And we are very happy to share so far. I don't know how to estimate how much we've done. We still have so many questions, but there are some things so far that we have done, and we are very happy to share some of those, such that we can have some support to you, the innovators. And we have seen a little bit of light coming on some of the on some of the people that we have taken their hand on. Of course, we're still prototyping, so we don't take on too many, but those who need, we are really available to share with you. So the last thing is the training the youth. I learned some time ago that only 2% of the population are entrepreneurs. What the majority of the people need is a stable job. And even sometimes when you force an employee to be an entrepreneur because they lack a job, at the first appearance of a job, they will be gone from that business. And that's the cause of the failure of most of our. How many of you jump from employment to you jump from employment to your enterprise, you make it your side hustle, you make it your telephone business, you make it your, you know, and so you struggle, you know. So filtering out the entrepreneurs so that we give them, because our right entrepreneur creates opportunity for employment. So the mechanism of identifying entrepreneurs, not everybody who has a small business is an entrepreneur. And you can invest so much in them, and in the end, the good thing is the opportunities with these organizations, with the ILO, because I trained, I can now become a trainer, but I'm a signpost to others. Please go there. I don't dare go there, but you go. This is where you're supposed to go. So let's make sure that we target, because when you target a good entrepreneur, then they will create good jobs and sustainable jobs for others. I want to end my remarks by thanking you once again. I hope I've made something useful for us. We are very happy to collaborate, to work together with anybody that is available to work with us. And I don't know whether it is a Federation of Uganda Employers or who is the main link here. Yes, we link up with Joshua, and we would like to explore how we support this group with whatever way that we have. We also have grants. There are few, but we have some grants that we give, and I think soon we'll be advertising the grants. Although getting our grants, sometimes people think that they are so painful, because we want to make sure you are not a grantpreneur. If you're a grantpreneur, we will first convert you from a grantpreneur to an entrepreneur before we release the funds to you. But our grants are accompanied with a lot of hand holding. You can't divert any of the money to anything, and if you don't produce, we don't give you any more money, because we want people who are serious, who create opportunities in the ecosystem. So we also have some funding, the Innovation Fund. When Parliament appropriates funds, then we issue calls, and then that becomes a family. But we have also started a program that we have been piloting for human capital development. How do you develop people with a unique thinking, with a unique resilient spirit, with a passion for work, passion for what they do? And we hope that once we have tested this works, it is something we can train entrepreneurs in to nurture people. Because the success of entrepreneurship in Africa depends on how well we can create good employees. Not so much good entrepreneurs, but the good employees. If we do not create good employees, let's forget entrepreneurship. I want to thank you for listening to me, enduring my long talk. And I want to thank our people who have brought this Tech at Work program. It seems really to be a fantastic program from the little that I have heard and the content that is in it. I pray that this will turn out to be a market creating program in the country that will create sustainable employment and sustainable innovation. Because without innovation, no nation can grow. And our goal now is to grow the contribution of knowledge-based goods and services to the economy through productivity acceleration, increase in import substitution, and export of value-added goods. That's the goal of my ministry. And so anything where we see opportunity, we are available. And if you ever need us, don't hesitate to call on me. With these many words, I would like now to launch this program. It's officially launched and it's going to be massively successful. Where you need our support, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you and God bless you for God and my country. And at Science, we always say, making Uganda the best. Thank you.
Just a group photo with you, and then we can go for your copy. Yes. We are
Members, we would like to welcome you to the cocktail, which is right on the right. But we also have the registration link for those who want to register for our training. The link is on the screen. But I would like to request you to join the Honorable Minister as we go for the cocktail outside.